30-second opportunity for rebuttal if candidates choose. Candidates will be given 2 minutes to provide an opening statement, 2 minutes to offer a closing statement, and 90 seconds to answer each question. When 30 seconds remain to answer the question, the timekeeper will raise a yellow card indicating it's time to wrap up. A red card indicates your answer time has expired. Each candidate will ask the same question, with each having the opportunity to answer first. We will use alphabetical order. 6 questions have been developed in a partial panel, and no candidates have seen nor heard the questions prior to tonight. Many thanks to Colorado Church, the Republican Women of Baltimore County, the Central Baltimore County Republican Club, the Patriot Club of America, and the East Side Republican Club for co-hosting tonight's event. Special thanks to our 2 moderators, former state delegate and RWBC founder, Ambassador Ellen Sauerbrey, and best-selling author and award-winning Fox 45 investigative journalist, Chris Powell. Also, a shout out to Sophia Montgomery, first VP of RWBC, for the thankless job of timekeeper.
But now, I have the power.
Yes, you do. So let's warmly welcome our Republican candidates for governor of Maryland. L.D. Birkenstein.
Birkenstein.
My apologies. Douglas Larco. John Myrick. Michael Oakes. And Shannon Runt. Very, very briefly, I would like to let everyone in the room know that we're selling a beautiful raffle basket for the One Love Foundation. And I need to give a shout out to Sharon Love, who is the mother of Yardley Love and the founder of this foundation. And she's back over here somewhere. So a shout out to Sharon Love for being with us tonight. Forward, it's time for opening statements. When offering your opening statement, please keep this question in mind. Mr. Birkenstein, you will go first. The Republican candidate for governor in the last election was only able to obtain 34% of total votes. Given that situation in the Democratic state of Maryland, what 2 things are you going to do specifically to get enough Democrat and unaffiliated votes to get 51%, i.e. 60% more of the general election votes? So, Mr. Birkenstein, you will go first with your opening statement.
Is this on?
No.
Yeah.
Hello?
I'll take a look at it.
Maybe another one, maybe?
You need,
Hello, hello, hello?
you need to hold down until you see the green light.
Hello?
There we go, Rob.
Okay, I'm Lawrence Birkenstein. Thank everybody for being here. Thank you to all my neighbors, relatives, and all the people from Maryland here. And thank you to Baltimore County Republicans. Thank you for having me here. Okay, so yes, I'm a businessman in Maryland, and I'm here to break the cycle. And meaning break the cycle, we need to do things differently in the state. We got to put the people ahead of politics. We got to get that done, and that's the first thing we're going to do is break the cycle. Break the cycle means a lot. We got to break poverty. We got to break the cycle of uneducated kids in our systems throughout the state. We got to make opportunities for the teachers and the parents. We got to have parents should have choice to where their kids go to school. We need to work on vocation. We need to bring kids into trades so that when they come out of school, they have a job. Not all kids are going to go to college, so we need to work on that so that when they come out, they have other opportunities. If they get a trade, when they come out of high school, they'll have something to go to. They'll start working out in the field, and maybe go to a pre-apprenticeship school or whatever, and there's going to be a lot of work out there for them because of AI. Now, as far as bringing voters in, I have been working collectively to bring in the young Republicans across the state. I just talked to a young lady that runs the Young Republicans out in Frostburg, and she is trying to hook up with the other colleges across the state for young Republicans in Turning Point. So it seems like I have a lot of support there with young Republicans. Plus, I have a couple guys and young fellas in Baltimore City that have thousands of followers, and they post stuff every day about me and trying to get people to turn Republicans. Plus, I'm also a union affiliate guy. I was a union contractor for over 40 years, and I have all the unions behind me. They've told me a lot of guys have already switched their cards out from Democrat to Republicans. So I think I'm doing a good job there. So we got to get some more unions behind us, and that's what I'm working on, to get more votes in to bring us, up to par with against the Democrats. So thank you.
Next, we will have L.D. Burke, I'm sorry. Apologies.
Oh, good evening. Yes, it's Douglas Larcombe. And just say, the gates to freedom are narrow. And so what that means is that the Democrats keep taking a little more and a little more and a little more, so we're a lot less free. And if you go to my site on Facebook, you'll see that I have a maxim that I've had for years. And that is socialism is the identical twin of communism, who want to relieve you of all personal wealth. And we are well on our way. So according to the third chair of the Republican Party here in the state of Maryland, Rich Collins, he said, it's my job to make sure everybody likes me. And so that's my job here tonight, is that hopefully by the end of the evening, you'll all like me. And then I can push that same narrative to the left. So one of my things that I explained to some of the people here tonight is I want to put in what I would call a public consensus voting system through the Board of Elections, so that people have a right to vote on issues, not that it's going to have weight to the delegates and to the senators, but as a governor, that as I take this vote mechanically through the internet on people's opinions on large and small ticket items, I can take it in front of the General Assembly that's trying to push something and say, well, the general population right here, right in Maryland, they want this right here. And that would not be a good idea. So I reach out to the left as well as the right, and we've got to make Republicans cool again, right? So it can't be too right authoritarian, because the left is never going to vote that in. So with my social media right now, I'm able to reach out to 1.145 million people. So I'm getting the word out there, and I'm getting a lot of response back and forth, and I engage with people. So I will encourage the left to vote for somebody who can win against Westmore and get us back to fiscal restraint and get this fear factor over with the environmental policies.
Next,
Thank you.
we will hear from John Myrick.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am John Myrick, and with your help, I will be our next governor. Unlike our current governor, I'm a Marylander. My family's been here since 1640. I grew up just up the street in Harford County. I was a Harford County deputy sheriff. I served 30 years as a counterintelligence agent for the federal government. While I did that, I served for 23 years in the Air Force Reserve, served in combat on 5 different continents. And again, unlike our current governor, I can actually account for each and every one of my combat declarations. We don't need to worry about reaching out realistically to Democrats, because Democrats are just as mad as you are. They're having their pockets picked just like Republicans. Their kids go to the same failed schools. They walk down the same unsafe streets. They drive on the same crappy roads that you do. And they're mad. We do events all over the state. We did 400 events. My running mate, Dr. Brenda Cham, and I have done over 400 events last year. We've done almost 175 events so far this year, many of them in Democrat-controlled areas. And Democrats tell us the same thing every time we meet with them. When are you getting rid of Westmore? They are just as mad as you are. So we know that we can appeal to the Democrats and unaffiliated voters. Bernie Flowers and I spoke in front of the Libertarian Party this year at their convention, by their invitation. And those people are now unaffiliated voters, and they were responsive to our message. using common sense, logic, and good judgment, we will restore prosperity to Maryland. And Democrats are just as eager for that, and so are unaffiliated voters, as Republicans sitting in this room. I thank you for your time, and I look forward to speaking with you more today.
And now we will hear from Michael Oakes.
Good evening, everybody. First thing I want to do is everybody look around and find the nearest fire exit. Reason being, the two candidates that are most adept at catching their pants on fire aren't here tonight. So you got fortunate in that we don't have to worry about anybody running for the exit because their pants are on fire. Second, I truly believe there's only two people in the candidates that are capable of beating Wes Moore, because neither one of them has a propensity to extend the truth and just run on and on and on and say nothing. The other candidate, besides myself, I would be proud to call him a friend. I would not hesitate to ask him for advice and consent, because I believe he has the same dreams that I do, and that's to return Maryland to the land of pleasant living. And I think the only way we're going to do that is to change the governorship, the administration, and the legislature. And I'm talking all 188 legislators out the door, replace them. I would just as soon be a governor with a team of rookies that are willing to do the same thing, which is get Maryland back to the land of pleasant living. I don't want a team of prima donnas. They're wasting their time. Thank you.
And now we will hear from Shannon Wright.
Did he just say he doesn't need
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me in the back? Yeah. Okay. My name is Shannon Wright, and I am a former third vice chair of the state party, former chair of the Maryland Black Republican Council, and former chair of the Baltimore City Central Committee. I am a twice elected RNC delegate on the ballot. Now, I say all of that to you to say, we need to elect someone that is a grown folk in the room that understands leadership and understands how to put people first, but in a way that actually works through policy. And we don't have that right now. Now, there are a lot of folks that are going to say a lot of things, and that's all well and good, but I'll tell you this. We need someone that has a plan, and I do. We need to fix schools. Yes, we do. We need to fix the job market. We need to fix the economy. We need to fix public safety. But the only way we do that is to get out of the primary and to win in the general. Now, as Republicans, we tend to eat our own. We tend to vote for who makes us feel all nice and warm and fuzzy in the primary and hasn't a chance of a snowflake in hell of getting out and winning the general. Now, as far as the other part of that question of how to get more voters and understanding that we have to be able to reach over, is very simple. As a wife, a mother, and a grandmother, I can speak to the kitchen table issues that affect everyone in this state. Every parent in this state wants to see their kids come home with all the body parts they left with, and hopefully a little smarter. There are more things that unite us than divide us. So rather than enter a room party first, I enter a room people first. And if I'm being really honest, I enter God first. Let Him clear the way so that every ear and every heart in that room is ready to receive what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you all. And now it's time for our questions. And our first question will be asked by Ambassador Ellen Salgren.
Before I ask the question, I would just like to say one thing. We don't want to have applause with each speaker because you will use up the time. But I also want to say to each speaker, I know what you're going through. Been there, done that. And I commend everyone that has decided to take on this project because I know the time, energy, and resources it requires. So on that note, let's clap for the candidates and then no more clapping until the end.
Very good.
So with the format that we're using, we are going to start and go right down through the candidates that are here. And the first question is probably on the minds of most Marylanders. Despite about $1.8 billion in new taxes, Maryland is running a projected budget deficit next year, probably somewhere between $2.5 and $3 billion. Some lawmakers have proposed significant tax increases to address the shortfall. The Maryland Constitution, as many of you know, I'm sure, mandates that the governor must submit a balanced budget. So, as governor, how would you address the budget deficit in your first year in office? What principles would guide you as you make your decisions about spending, cuts, proposed budget increases? How are you going to deal with this problem? And what do you bring to the table that we can have confidence that you are capable of dealing with a multi-billion-dollar budget? Mr. Bergen.
Okay, well first I've been a businessman for 40 years. So whenever I did a job, I had to get a mortgage on my house or make a loan, okay? And I put my own money out there, and when I did a job, if I didn't do the job on time, I would be facing thousands of dollars in liquidated damages. So I had to get the job done, I had to get it done on time so I could make a profit, at least try to make a profit. And run business, and running men and job sites, I've been on lots of job sites where I was on a job site, Brandon Shores Power Plant, where there was thousands of men. And I coordinated most of their permits and did all the inspections, and plus I had my own men on the project. So I know how to work men. I was an organizer at one time. I know how to bring people together. That's my experience. Now, as far as bringing our taxes down, we have to get out here. We have to bring in independent auditors. We have to go through every division, start with zero, and figure out where every dollar is going, to figure out where this money's disappeared to. And if we find fraud and abuse, then we'll have to prosecute these people. We have to make them accountable. So we got to do that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring industry back to the state of Maryland. We're going to cut regulations and make it to where people can do business and they want to stay here. And plus we have to have a workforce, and we got to get back to school again. We've got to bring the kids up through school so they can do these jobs. So we're going to make more jobs. We're going to work on that, and then we're going to go through the cuts that we need to cut, and we're going to hold all spending until we figure out where all the monies went to. So that's what we're going to do. Just thank you.
Mr. Lancome?
Ms. Larcombe, Ambassador, thank you. Well, I tell you, I'm not too concerned about a budget that's supposed to be $3.4 billion more, what have you, because I'm pretty sure I've found a lot of waste. And with regard to that, it's the environmental fear factor. So we have the Climate Solution Act of 2022, which you're paying $1 billion a year for. Then we have Wes Moore with his executive order for the Maryland Pollution Reduction Act of 2024, which immediately cost Marylanders $3.7 billion. Okay, then we have the Advanced Clean Cars 2 rule, and that is the rule to make everybody drive an electric car by 2035. Unaffordable, unsustainable, unreal, and all based on the fact that they're claiming there's an environmental crisis. I'm here to tell you that there's no environmental crisis at all. There's 148,000 registered electric vehicles in the state of Maryland. There's 4.2 million fossil fuel gasoline operated motor vehicles on the road. We're all breathing just fine. So we need to repeal the Climate Solutions Act. We need to repeal the Advanced Clean Car 2 rule, and we need to remove the executive order for the Maryland Pollution Reduction Act. And we will find that money.
Thank you, Mr. Myrick.
Thank you, ma'am. Bottom line here is your tax dollars are what fund the state. The Republican caucus last year and the year before that, both in the Senate and the House, proposed alternative budgets to the state of Maryland that actually would have reduced taxes and would have reduced spending. And they were laughed out of the room by the Democrats. That's because they had no governor who had their back on that proposal. There is waste, there is fraud. Mr. Birkendine is correct. And we've been advocating for the past 16 months that we will bring in an independent audit team and we will find every single taxpayer dollar that's been spent. And where there is waste, we will cut it. Where there is fraud, we will prosecute it. Now, I've handled multi-billion-dollar budgets when I was a federal employee. That was part of my job. So I am used to dealing with those large numbers. The problem in Annapolis is they forgot a long time ago that that's not monopoly money they're spending down there. It's not numbers on the ledger. It's money out of your hard-earned pockets. And you deserve to have that money go where you need it to go and where it needs to be programmed to meet Marylanders' needs. And we will do that with our budget, and I would do that with the help of a new comptroller. Thank you.
Please withhold clapping until we get to the end of the program. Mr. Oates?
Ready?
Yes.
Okay. The question is hypothetical. There's a problem. As a business owner that did business in 7 states and 3 European countries, you don't nibble at a deficit or a budget like that. You go for the big chunks. Have a team ready to step in, economists, accountants, treasurers, and they're all saying the same thing. Don't fiddle around, just go grab the big stuff, even if it means $13,500,000 a year in legislator salaries, 4th highest in the country, 2,600 bills written in the last 90 days section, 900 were turned into something, and only 170 have been signed by our smiling governor. And the whole time he's saying, what else can we tax them on? All of that stuff's got to go, including the toilet paper tax. So.
Thank you, Mr. Oates. Pastor Wright. Mrs. Wright.
Now, if I understand correctly, there are 2 parts to this question. The first part is, how do I know I can handle balancing that budget? So, as I said before, I'm a wife, a mother, and a grandmother. I raised 4 kids with that wonderful man sitting over there. When we realized that all the things that our kids were learning in school were not things I would want my worst enemy's kids to learn, I quit my job and homeschooled all 4 kids. Now, in doing that, it cut our it cut our income into our house. But in that time of homeschooling those 4 through high school, we kept the lights on, we kept the water running, we kept the mortgage paid, and all of those things, because it's a very simple concept. You cannot spend more than you have. Now, our current legislature is fighting a battle with the executive branch. You know, it's very funny to me that everyone talked about how there are no new taxes or fees this year. Has anybody bought paint lately? Okay, so we've gotten so good that we put this in the budget to tax last year to take effect this year. So we are robbing from Peter to pay Paul in all kinds of ways. Next, I will continue to do what I've already done, which is this year I had the opportunity to write 2 bills, which by the grace of God I found a sponsor for. Not sure if he wants me to mention his name. They were voted on, and we are going to be continuing to do those things. So the only difference is whether it'll be as a citizen or as your next governor.
Thank you very much.
Excuse me, Ambassador and Chris and Sophia, how do I go about rebutting?
You will now, each candidate will now have, if you wish to use it, 30 seconds that you can rebut, expand on your comments.
Okay. Well, I agree with just about everything I've heard here tonight. That's why we're all here. We're here to take more down. I heard a song the other day. It sounded really good. It was an old song, and every time I heard this thing, look at what's going around, I said, let's bring more down, okay? So I thought that was great. I want to get it out there. You probably heard the song. But yes, we got to do exactly what everybody's saying, and working together to do this. We got to work together, so that's about all. So thank you. Okay.
One moment, Mr. Latham.
So, with all due respect to John and Larry, this authoritarian right posturing of they're going to prosecute everybody, that is the wrong answer. That is not going to get you elected by the left. No way, shape, or form. The money is gone. I've got the whistleblowers. They get a hold of me. I've got them lined up. And these are people that have been fired by Westmore. So that'll all work itself out.
Anyone else?
Yeah. The bottom line here is you live within a budget every month. The state needs to learn how to do that too. The difference between the state and you is when you run out of money at the end of the month, you can't go next door and take your neighbor's wallet. The state simply reaches deeper into your pocket. That has to end. And it will end under our administration. Thank you.
Any other comments? Ms. Wright?
To go a little bit further in what I was talking about, HB 1632 is a bill to be able to make dialysis safe for kidney patients at home. The center of CMS, 1.3 billion top line item is kidney disease, kidney failure, and taking care of those patients. By rearranging the way that we do that and the way that we cover it in this state would save over $1 billion for the state of Maryland alone. That bill, HB 1632, as I said, is a continuation of what I will do as your next governor.
And now on to our next topic. If the budget and taxes are the thing that most people are talking about, energy prices and energy in and of itself is probably the second most important topic. Maryland currently imports about 40% of its energy from other states. According to Global Energy Monitor and the Bay Journal, 16 coal-fired power plants in Maryland were closed since 2012. Many critics argue policies coming out of Annapolis have led to the closure of these power plants, which has created a decrease in energy production and therefore a rise in costs. As governor, how would you approach Maryland's energy challenges? And we begin with Mr. Birkendock.
Okay, well, I worked at most of the power plants in the state of Maryland. Brandon Shores, we put a scrubber in there and brought it up to all the regulations. So if you don't understand what a scrubber is, it's like a big washing machine. So what happens is when you're burning coal, the coal goes through this process. It has an exhaust and goes out these stacks. So if you ever go over the bridge, you see those big stacks and you see that steam coming off. That's this coal's actually being, the exhaust is being cleaned, okay? So Brandon Shores is ready to go. It's running about 20% of what it was 20 years ago. They shut it down, and that's why your bills up here in Baltimore County are so high, okay? We need to get that plant up and running again to at least 85%. If you see that, your bills will come down probably $200 a month. When Biden shut down the coal mining, he really shut us down here in Maryland, okay? So we need to get the plants up and running, and they can run, and they're clean enough to run, okay? And while they're running and we're bringing our bills down, we'll start working on another system where we go to smaller plants, maybe gas power plants, or maybe even nuclear plants, small plants. But this is going to bring work to the state. It's going to put a lot of people back to work, and it's going to bring the wages up, and you're going to see a big change. We just need to get these plants running, so that's what I want to do. And as governor, we can make that happen.
Mr. Larko.
Well, what's driving the cost of that energy is exactly what I was talking about, those environmental fear policies. And so what's going on is, while Wes Moore stands there, he says, I stand with Marylanders, right? Yeah, he stands with Marylanders, and he's talking about PJM, and they're the managers of the grid. And they have got a large program going on right now with the Maryland Piedmont Reliability program. And so what they're trying to do is build the infrastructure for all those electric cars we talked about. And so at the same token, that's what's driving up the energy costs, because then the grid operators are also putting their cut on top of it. So Wes Moore and the leadership is all invested in these companies. So as for the coal plants, 16 of them were run out of the state, basically, right, by legislation, but the suppliers owned those plants. And they did have scrubbers in the top, and so they were environmentally fine. But now Riverstone LLC in London bought them all. And they're going to open them all back up so they can fuel AI centers. And you know that your legislature is going to love those AI centers, because there's a lot of money from real estate revenue from AI centers, while they are equivalent to the biblical locusts, right? They take up a ton of electricity that they want you to pay for. So I'm going to have them provide, if the AI centers come, they have to provide their own power plants and return the same amount of energy they use back into the grid for us, for free. And that'll lower it. And also, we will work with modular nuclear power plants. The federal government will give $8 billion each to put those in.
Mr. Meyer.
It's a simple matter of supply and demand when it comes to energy. The bottom line is the state has cut the supply, the demand has not gone down. And it's actually increased. And when you add in things like data centers that take up 120,000 homes worth of electricity per data center on average, you wind up with what we have now, skyrocketed energy costs that are out of control. We also have a public service commission that the governor appoints that's supposed to oversee those rate increase requests. They failed you. They failed all of us. Each one of us who opens an electric bill knows that. We will work with the owners of those shuttered plants to retrofit them to burn clean natural gas, something Maryland has an abundance of. And we can get those plants back online in fairly short order. While we're doing that, we'll work with our federal partners and we'll increase the reactor capacity of Calvert Cliffs, because nuclear is green energy. We will also work with a company here in Maryland, a Maryland-based company called X Energy out in Montgomery County, who is the world's leader in modular nuclear technology. They're telling me they can install modular nuclear plants throughout the state of Maryland in fairly limited time capacity and turn us into an energy producer from an energy consumer. When you add capacity, you lower cost, and that is what we will do.
Mr. Oaks.
I think we're all going to be okay, because you're getting $12.50 to off. Seriously, who makes a decision to shut down power plants before you build new power plants? That's the height of stupidity. Come on. You're going to have to get the power plants back up and running while you start building substitute, so that when those substitutes come online, then you can think about shutting down the dirty coal plants. Since November of last year, I've been preaching modular nuclear energy. I've explored it intensively. It's a very clean operation. You can get one up and running as little as 2 years, and they only take up about 5 acres. That seems like a pretty good deal. An AI center having their own modular plant, they can generate enough electricity for their plant that they can then supply electricity to supply homes as many as 120,000 a month. That's a common sense deal. Our legislature and our administration threw common sense out the window. But you're getting your $12.50.
That's right.
So, We're gonna do something, and a lot of what you'll hear from me is back to basics, and we're gonna do this. We're gonna keep it simple, stupid. We're gonna stop getting from out there what we can do in here. Just like everybody says, made in America, America first. How about made in Maryland? How about from Maryland instead of Pennsylvania and Virginia and every place else? So this way, we keep our dollars here as well as get the energy that we need here. We're going to look at encouraging folks to be a partner with the state and be able to do the things that they can do with their own homes and their own businesses, their own properties, to also lessen their footprint. Now, one of the things folks have talked about a little bit here this evening is electric cars. It seems to me that we're being a little bit cart before the horse if we're trying to put all this electric cars out there without a strong grid. Now, for those of you that have not experienced rolling brownouts and power blackouts here in Maryland, I will tell you this. One of the things that I do right now, 4 times a week, is run my husband's dialysis program. And I will tell you this, the first time that I had to get him off the dialysis machine in the dark was when I realized, okay, I do some things different around here. Keep it simple, stupid. Make it in Maryland, have power for the people here, not everywhere else.
30-second rebuttal?
I'm good with it.
Anybody else like a 30-second rebuttal?
Yes, I would just like to expand. So if you've been watching the news recently, Empower is corrupt. And Empower is a fee or a surcharge you see on your bills that's supposed to help the less fortunate with their bills. And so what I propose is a 2 to 3% flat tax on your bill, which is a lot less than that surcharge, and that the money is not being distributed by the grid operators, which I want to deregulate the grid operators as well. But so the point is the people that need assistance with electricity can go to the Department of Social Services, and they can get their money from there.
Mr. Myrick?
Yeah, if you look at your power bill, a good portion of that is in what they call the delivery fee. And that delivery fee is because, as Mr. Papp stated, we import 40%, actually it's more than 40% now of our electricity from states like Pennsylvania and West Virginia, 2 states that produce electricity using coal. So the carbon footprint's still there, folks. If we have the power plants here, if we put an increased capacity here in Maryland, we don't have to import it, and therefore you don't pay the delivery fee.
Mr. Oakes?
One thing I wanted to add was 188 legislators are the ones that made the rules to change the electric rates and thereby shut stuff down, drive fees up. It's not so much the electric companies as it is the legislators telling the electric companies what we need to do. Remember, 188 rookies. Keep that in mind.
Okay, we're moving on.
So we are moving on, but I need to mention that Mr. Larcombe should have gone first last time, so he's going to go first this time. Okay, with Ellen's question, okay?
We're moving on now to the issue of crime, particularly juvenile crime. Marylanders are generally alarmed that juvenile crime and lack of accountability seems to run rampant in Maryland. Yet the session, the Maryland General Assembly session, just passed what they called the Youth Charging Reform. The reform is to say that juveniles who commit most crimes of violence can no longer be charged as adults, nor can they be retained or housed in adult facilities. As governor, the question is, how would your administration address the concerns of juvenile crime and at the same time ensure accountability, the protection of the taxpayer, and provide appropriate intervention for young people?
Well, you have to understand that a Republican governor is going to be working with a Democrat-led General Assembly. So we're going to have to talk some common sense into these people in some way, shape, or form. And that goes to my public consensus voting system, that we can ask the voters what they think. But I think we're going to need to do a lot of community service, right? And we're going to have to provide juvenile facilities to house these people versus putting them in an adult facility. So it's troubling, especially in the city of Baltimore. People are running rampant, and you just got to get a hold of these kids younger. Get into some sort of programs where you can reach them when they're in the 8th grade, maybe even 7th and 6th grade. These criminals are getting younger and younger. But I also believe in a self-defense plan and laws put into the Maryland Code. That includes reasonable restraint, castle doctrine, and stand your ground, so that you are going to be able to defend yourself against any offender, young or old, and detain them if you have to, and take the actions you have to, versus them harming you. They enter your house, do what you got to do. There's no duty to retreat. And so I will try to move our legislature to put for self-defense laws, and also look into juvenile facilities and programs to reduce the crime.
Mr. Myers?
Thank you, ma'am. As the only person running for governor, Democrat or Republican, who's ever worn a badge, public safety is paramount to me. When I was the deputy sheriff up in Harford County, if I arrested a juvenile, they were guilty by law back then. And court was only to adjudicate the sentence. By letting children go every time they commit heinous crimes now, we are simply reinforcing bad behavior. And children learn through reinforcement, both positive and negative. And the bottom line is, when they're 17 and they carjack somebody and they're let go, 2 weeks later they turn 18 and now they're going to the Maryland House of Corrections and they don't understand why. There has to be accountability. Juveniles have to be accountable. That starts at home. But if it doesn't start, if the home isn't doing it, then it needs to start with our laws. I will work with our legislature to repeal that aberrant law that has just been passed, so that we hold juveniles accountable and we teach them that there are, no kidding, there are consequences to their actions. If we don't do it now, they become adult offenders and we all pay the price for the rest of their lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Oh, Mr. Oakes, I'm sorry.
John's point, well taken. If you do the crime, you do the time. If you're not going to have a judge that's going to step up to the plate and say, hey, I'm sorry, there's no cash bail. You're going to do the time, whether it be a road crew picking up trash down on Route 100 or whatever. You're going to do the time. If the judges don't agree, then maybe we need to look at different judges. You got 188 legislatures that passed this law. More rookies. Get the prima donnas out, change the law, make the judges aware that you're going to have to get on the board to train, or we're going to see about talking to people about getting you out. That's simple.
Thank you, Ms. Wright.
Thank you. So, I'm not good at being politically correct, I'm going to be straight to the point. If more parents spent more time with their kids and taught them the way that they're supposed to go, the Bible is, a lot of good scripture on that, then we wouldn't have to worry about these sort of things. But since that is not the case, the best thing we can do for these children is to penalize them. The best way to learn a lesson that you don't want to be a better criminal is to actually pay the price for getting caught because you're not a good criminal. Now, nothing against those that wear a badge, and I love my folks in blue. However, let's be real clear. If our kids get to a badge, we've already lost. Let's sink in for a minute. That's the last line of defense. The first line of defense is helping parents. And helping parents to understand that tough love is a thing that don't stop at 25. Which means if your kid is out running amok, your kid's gonna do community service and you'll be right there next to him. There are ways to fix things. And in addition to that, and repealing that bill, and making sure that we hold kids accountable and parents accountable, as well as give parents the resources that they need, we have to fix the schools. Prison cells are built based on 8th grade tests. If we don't fix the schools, we won't fix the problem. So we can talk about it. Unless you do that, we're not going to fix the problem.
Thank you. We now are entering into the opportunity for
I'll get to speak with him.
30-second.
Oh, no, please, I didn't get the question.
He
Oh,
missed
I'm
his
sorry.
turn.
We start.
Go ahead.
Forgive me.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, there's plenty of laws on the book to lock anybody up you want to lock up, let's face it. Kids have problems because they don't have money. They're in bad areas, they're in bad situations. I grew up in Baltimore City, so I know what it's like to live in the city. I had to walk through bad areas to get to elementary school, high school, and there was always fighting for your life, okay? These kids need opportunity. They need a chance. They need guidance. They need good teachers. They need teachers that'll take them under their wings and make them grow up and show them the light. They need a lot of mentors. That's what they need. They don't need to be locked up for everything that comes down the pike. Sure, we want to lock up violent criminals, and sure, you want to prosecute them and do what you got to do to put them away. But they're children. These children need help. They need an opportunity. If we give them vocation in school, we give them trades, we give them a way to make $1 when they're young, when they're like in the 11th grade, by the time they come out, you give them a bank account, they're off the streets, they're not cleaning windshields, they're not riding motorcycles around the street. We could put parks around so they can get the motorcycles off the streets. We need to get the kids educated, and the teachers have to do their jobs. I had a good teacher when I was a kid. He was American Indian, he was 6'4", he was very straight, and I was a tough kid when I was a kid. I actually belonged to a gang. I didn't want to bring it up, but I did. And I found a light with this teacher, and he showed me the light. And the rest in every child isn't the way to go. Let's educate them, and let's give them opportunities. Get them from not selling drugs. Give them jobs. Give them a way to make a living. Have co-ops in school so that they're work study, and they'll see the incentive.
Thank you. At this point, we are now going to enter into the 30-second opportunity for rebuttal.
I'll pass.
Mr. Mallory?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I don't think anybody here is suggesting locking up every kid for every violation. But kids do need to be held accountable. And parents need to be held accountable for the conduct of their children as well. The bottom line here is, it starts in the home. Pastor Reg is correct. And if we do not reinforce law-abiding behavior in the homes, then it's left to those wearing badges to have to deal with it. We can fix this problem.
If no one else wishes to respond or rebut, Ms.
So to be
Ms. Wright?
really clear on this, the best thing we can do for these children is to hold them accountable. We learn lessons. How many in this room had a grandparent that was not afraid to lay hands? Okay? Do you feel you learned more from that? Now, we need to get back to a time and a place where your children, where our children have more fear of us than the police on the street. That's what we need to do. And we need to incentivize parents to be able to do their jobs.
Mr. Burkendine?
Yes, sir.
30 seconds, rebuttal.
Yes, and I agree with her about the teacher, parents having choice. That's why I want parents to have choice. They should be able to put their kids in the school they want to put them in, and it shouldn't go by a zip code. If a person lives, he sees a school that his kid could do better in, he should take his kid to another school, or a girl. That's what should happen. We should give the parents a choice. Let them decide where their kids go.
Moving on to topic 4, we'll begin with... Oh, you do want to? Yes, sir. Mr. Rhodes.
My question to you is, have we not been doing all these things for many years and it's just getting washed down the drain? I've got 2 kids in their late 30s and 40s. I was tough on my kids. But you know what? One of them's a CEO at T. Rowe Price here in Baltimore, and the other one's a CEO out in Boise, Idaho. They were raised right. They know right from wrong. We were good parents. Where are all the good parents today that let their kids run wild over at Dumbarton Middle School and have 6 kids beating on one kid?
Okay, moving on to topic 4, and we'll begin with Mr. Myrick. Immigration. During this year's legislative session, lawmakers in Annapolis placed a large focus on limiting how local and state officials cooperate with federal officials when it comes to enforcing immigration law. Many critics point to the murders of Kayla Hamilton and Rachel Morin, which both happened in Maryland, as a reason why there should be more cooperation between law enforcement agencies, not less. As candidates for governor, how do you view Maryland's recent move to distance itself from federal law enforcement agencies when it comes to immigration enforcement? Mr. Myrick.
Thank you for the question. I consult with the Department of Homeland Security in my regular full-time job. So I deal with Immigration and Customs Enforcement and CBP all the time. The recent legislation passed by the Democrat supermajority legislature and signed into law by the governor is an abomination and an affront to your safety and the safety of every single Marylander. I would add Dakara Thompson to that list that you gave, young lady who was murdered in Prince George's County by an illegal alien last year as well. 287G keeps Marylanders safe, and I stand with the sheriffs of the 9 jurisdictions in which they had 287G in their opposition to that law. The new law that they've got that completely eliminates law enforcement's ability to even contact or cooperate with federal law enforcement authorities is ridiculous. These people are making Maryland less safe for every one of us. And I will work with the legislature and with our Republican legislators down there to repeal these laws, these ridiculously unsafe laws, and to make it a point to let Marylanders know that their safety comes first.
Mr. Oaks.
The best thing we could do with 287G is tear it up, throw it away, burn it, get rid of it. I talked to the sheriff in Carroll County last week, I guess, and his opinion was they could write all the laws they want. We're going to do what's right.
Yeah.
If we get a person in here in custody, we're going right to the phone and we're going to call ICE and have them come get them. They just have to be removed. The legislature writes these crazy bills and they give them to Westmore to sign, which is the epitome of evil. I mean, if there was an auto pen in Maryland, it would say possession belongs to Westmore. It's ridiculous. You've got to get angry. You've got to get a hold of people and shake them until they realize. And I don't care if they're Democrats, Independents, or Republicans. People have to be woken up instead of just riding the white horse all the time.
Ms. Wright.
So, the first time that I publicly addressed the issue of immigration was, I believe, 2012 or 2013 at the mall in DC for the DC March on Jobs. Now, one thing that we've said for years is immigration is what makes this country great. It's the illegal part. So if we were to actually just adhere to the laws that were already on the books, we'd be in a much better place than we are right now. With regard specifically to 287G, I will say this. At the time that we live in right now, with all of the hostilities, both international, domestic, and local, we need every collaboration and every bit of cooperation that we can give and get. It is the only way to keep ourselves safe. You don't go home at night, lock your car, make sure your keys are in your pocket, go in your front door and leave the door open and open all the windows, do you? You control who comes in and out and across your borders, don't you? So why should we be expected any less? We have to make sure that we are doing all the things and using all the tools in the toolbox to keep all of us safe.
Mr. Burkett.
Law enforcement, we have to support our law enforcement. I've had two nephews, or one nephew now, it's an Anne Arundel County police officer, and he tells me every day what we need to do. We have to have like a Bill of Rights for police officers. These guys are scared to death to make arrests. They are. So we have to change that in Annapolis so that they can make the arrest they need to make. Okay, so we got to support. Now, as far as these immigrants go, we want to get the worst ones out right away, and we got to support ICE. And if I become the governor, I'll call up President Trump and I'll say, look, we want to work with ICE, bring them in here. We're going to get these people out of here. As a contractor, we found that when O'Malley made it a sanctuary state, it crushed our industry. Because we had 39 contractors, and within months we were down to 12, and we lost 3,900 people because we couldn't compete with the wages that they were paying. So yes, we got to make the change. We got to get them out of here. So as far as we got to get the worst of the worst out here first. That's what we got to get done. Now, as far as the police officers, the sheriffs, I agree with that. I've talked to the sheriff on Eastern Shore, and he told me what this sanctuary thing does for him. He has to take care of the Bay Bridge. In Queen Anne's County, they oversee the Bay Bridge. Now, if somebody jumps off the bridge, guess what? They can't call up Coast Guard anymore. They used to call Coast Guard first because Coast Guard has the equipment to go out and find the body. So the DNR, when you call DNR, they don't have the equipment, they don't have the helicopters or the source to go around and look for the body. So that's what happens when they pass this kind of legislation. That's what it stops them from being able to do that.
Mr. Larco.
Thank you. Ambassador, this is right up your alley, immigration, right? So, anyway, so 287G, the way they got away with banning that is that it was voluntary. So I'm a proactive person and a shaker and a mover, and DJT is really busy right now. So I sent correspondence down to Vice President James David Vance, and I asked him to try to push legislation through to make 287G mandatory. The Article 2 of the Declaration of Rights of the Constitution of the State of Maryland says that federal law is the supreme law of the State of Maryland, and all judges have to adhere to it. So if it becomes mandatory, then their ban becomes unconstitutional, and then I'll move it forward. Now let me explain that real fast, 287G. If you commit a crime and you're in this country illegally, the law enforcement officer will only take the person in that committed the crime, and then they'll check to see if they have detainers. So while the left wants to sell it as the boogeyman and all that stuff, it's not near as bad as you think. Now, how do we navigate? So, as I've said before, I want to put in an immigration plan to the Governor's Office of Immigration where we, as Marylanders, we can document these people ourselves. So they're politically correct to say they're undocumented non-citizens. If we document them all, we can do backgrounds on them all, we know where they are, and that's not an offer of citizenship. That is just understanding how we can get these people incorporated into our state because they're here and they're not going anywhere quick.
Now we're opening up for 30-second rebuttals. Mr. Byron.
Criminal unlawful aliens are a threat to Maryland's security and to your safety. And you need to look at the legislators who voted for this 287G ban and for the ban on cooperating with federal authorities. And you need to remember that in November. That's the bottom line. We cannot fix this unless we get legislators in there that understand your safety comes first.
Mr. Oaks.
John's always making a good point before me. I want to tell you a little story about, is there any part of illegal that does not comprehend with you? No, okay? So when I was in Belgium last week, talking to my partners, they took me around town and showed me areas that you don't want to go to as a native Belgian because the North African Muslims that cross the Mediterranean and follow their way up to Belgium, they actually have communities that you don't want to go to. That's what you can look forward to.
Ms. Wright. Mr. Birkendock.
We also have to worry about these gun bills they're passing. We passed this law the other day where they're worried about Glocks being automatic weapons, okay? Once they start with one gun bill, they start doing another one, until you don't have any guns. I believe in the Second Amendment right, and I'm going to back that up in the state of Maryland. I'm going to take care of the Constitution, and we're not going to let that happen if I become governor.
We end topic 4 with Mr. Largo.
Okay, real quick. So I've talked to Latinas and Latinos that are Republicans down in Montgomery County and so on. The fact is, if I'm an attorney for these immigrants that came in here, John's absolutely right. If they're a criminal, they're out of here. That's why we do the background checks at the Governor's Office of Immigration Affairs. But the fact of the matter is, my argument as an attorney for these immigrants is that Joe Biden let us in. Was that really an illegal crossing? So they would have an argument.
Anyone else care to rebut? And we're moving on to the next topic, which is the Maryland economy. You know, we compete as a state with our neighbors for jobs, for investment. Unfortunately, when most corporations are making a decision about where to locate, they don't even consider Maryland. Most of our corporations have already left the state. When you look at storefronts that are empty, you recognize the difficulty of being a small business in this state. What specific policies as governor would you pursue to attract and retain business, large and small, at the same time protecting workers and also protecting the taxpayer? And we'll start with Mr. Oakes.
Maryland's at a distinct disadvantage because we have a very low quality of life. Again, 188 legislatures are not helping us. I talked to a manager with Micro in Boise, and they currently have a 7,000 square foot manufacturing facility for chips, one of the largest in the country. They're in the process of adding 5 million square feet and 5,000 employees. They'll have 12,000 employees. And when I met with him, I said, what's the chance that we could get Micron to open a facility in Maryland? We've got transportation by rail, boat, truck, planes. What more could you ask for? And he said, really, a better quality of life, because that's why people come to Idaho, because the quality of life is so much better. Well, but that considered, what would you say to operating a facility in Maryland? He said, I'll tell you 2 things. No and hell no.
That's right.
Okay, so to bring jobs, we do have to fix some things. One of the first things that we have to fix is education. When parents look and decide where they're going to move, they look for how safe it is, how good the school systems are, and if their children are going to be able to grow up in the manner that they would want them to. So again, I'm not a broken record, but you got to fix education. One of the first things that I would do as your next governor is to pass an executive order to make sure that every parent has access to academic savings accounts. That means the money follows the child. Now, you can talk about all the tax rebates and all the other things, all the cute things you want to do, but if you tell a parent that if they move their business to Maryland, their child can go to the school of their choosing, that will turn things around quicker than you can shake a stick. We have to make Maryland not concentrate on business friendly, because everybody says people first, then we have to make Maryland family friendly.
Mr. Buckendine.
Industry. When I grew up here in the state of Maryland, you had a shipbuilder down on Key Highway, you had Bethlehem Steel, you had, you had all kind of plants, Black & Decker, Westinghouse, you had all these plants. Well, these Democrats got together and said, you know, we're going to have a big experiment. We're going to make Baltimore a place that people can come and go to a football, baseball game and enjoy the Inner Harbor. We're going to do away with industry, and we're going to have all these jobs in the Inner Harbor, and guess what? They're all people working in restaurants where they make below standard wages. They do away with all the construction jobs, so we got to get back into building jobs. We got to get back into manufacturing, and we got to give them incentives. We got to cut the taxes, and also you have a tax that is an inventory tax, also what they call a property tax in the state of Maryland, personal property tax. If you're a manufacturer, your personal property tax cuts your rate of taxes way down. It's a big incentive for companies, but a lot of companies don't even know that. So if they just change a little standard and become a manufacturing status, they would cut their taxes down immediately. But we got to let people educate people in this matter. Do away with the inventory tax, and we also have to bring companies in here. So we have to bring investors in. And of course, the only way to do that is find people that's got money. And why not call up somebody that's got a lot of money and know a lot of investors and get them to help us bring big business back to Baltimore and Maryland? How's that sound?
Mr. Latham?
Thank you, Ambassador. The first thing I would do is repeal the Westmore School of Economic Ruin. All right? We're getting killed in this state, and it's because we're not competitive. So this is economics 101. So we rank 41st in the nation in economic growth. We rank 50th in job growth at 0.6%. How do you counter this? Well, you look at places like North Carolina, Alabama, so on. So if we come down, we have a current, by the way, corporate tax rate of 8.25%. We come down to 3% or 3.5%, that brings in the corporations. You give them a 10-year tax abatement, and that brings the companies here and gets them ingrained into the community. They're hiring people, you're getting income taxes from these companies who employ the people. So you make the state, which is very expensive to do business here, friendly. Anybody here know who Jim Taislet is? Jim Taislet? Okay. He is the CEO of Lockheed Martin, right down here in Bethesda. So I've got correspondence out to him. And I'm trying to push him to get the Patriot missile systems built here in the state of Maryland instead of down there in Arkansas and Alabama. You know, what would it take to bring them here? And those percentages would get them here. So not only would you be making the equipment, but you would be making the ordinance to push that equipment and bring jobs to the state of Maryland.
Mr. Murray?
Thank you, Ambassador. Maryland's insanely high corporate tax rate is the second highest in the nation right now. So they're right. This is not an unfriendly state for businesses. We can fix this. We will propose through the legislature to lower the Maryland corporate tax rate to 5%. By doing that, we will attract businesses like Boeing, who is leaving Northern Virginia because they just passed new corporate taxes for those companies. Boeing is moving out to St. Louis, Missouri this year before the taxes take place. I would like to attract those businesses to come back across the river. Why? They don't have to relocate their workforce. Two, we could use that tax revenue. And again, you don't have to be an economist to figure out that when you tax on the front end, you stifle business growth. You kill small businesses in the process as well. Businesses, when they relocate here to Maryland and when they expand here, they hire people. What do employed people do? They pay taxes. They buy things. They buy homes. You actually get 4 times the money on the back end than you do on the front end. The problem is our Democrat supermajority legislature doesn't understand that basic premise. We will drive that home to them, and we will make Maryland a business-friendly state. We will also eliminate a lot of the ridiculous regulations that stifle business growth and development. Thank you.
Thank you. We are now into the 30-second opportunity for comments, rebuttal.
Okay, I actually employed hundreds of people, okay? So when I hired people on, I always looked at them like I'm not only hiring them when I'm hiring their families on. I never laid anybody off during a holiday because I wouldn't want that to happen to me, okay? I think here in the state of Maryland, we need to think about a system or bring businesses back to think like that. We need to bring back manufacturing. Again, we need to do this, and we need investors. So the only way we're going to find investors is by going around trying to find people that know people that invest and bring businesses back to the state of Maryland, big manufacturing companies. We're going to have AI in the state. It's going to go across the country, and we need to do that. Thank you.
Mr. Lamb?
So I know a thing or two about economics. Being the CEO of Money Management Group Incorporated, Diamond Floors and Chairs Incorporated, DLAR Contracting, and DSAS, which was Doug and Sally's Appraisal Services. So I know what will generate business, I know how to manage the money, can get us all home here.
Yes, ma'am. One of the other things we plan on doing is working with the legislature to repeal this ridiculous 3% IT tax that each and every business has to deal with. We've lost high-paying, good quality jobs in the state of Maryland because of this IT tax. IonQ, a major AI company, relocated to Nashville, Tennessee because of the corporate tax rate here in Maryland. So we can fix this.
Ms. Wright?
So, we've heard a lot about we're going to bring business back. And I appreciate that, I do. But unless you're going to take a rope and go lasso, there's some work that has to be done here first. One of the things that we want to do, if we want to cut taxes, which is a wonderful idea, we need to do it on the back end, not the front. For example, have businesses come here, and then once they are here for however many term of years, then let's start looking at what we can do for them.
All right, we are now moving on to our sixth topic. We'll start with Ms. Wright. And when the ambassador and I were coming up with questions, we felt that the first 5 topics that we came up with all came down to this last topic, which is population loss. Maryland is losing population. From 2020 to 2024, Maryland lost 124,000 residents to other states, which was the 6th most in the country, according to the Maryland Chamber of Commerce. Just this week, the Carroll County State's Attorney said he's leaving Maryland when his term is over later this year. He said Maryland is a lost cause. Why do you feel residents are leaving Maryland? As governor, how would you work to convince people not to leave this state while also attracting people to move to this state? Ms. Wright.
So that's a very difficult question. So I'm going to ask you all to visualize a bicycle tire with the hub and spokes. So we have a lot of different issues that we need to fix. If we want to be able to stem the tide of folks that are leaving this state, we have to make this state a place that people once again are proud to call home. Now, when you look at where you call home, what do you want? You want to be safe. You want to enjoy your property. You want to know that your kids and your grandkids are going to be safe and have an education that affords them the opportunity to go farther than you did. And you want to be able to sleep good at night. So there's some things that have to be done to make that happen. Again, yes, we've all talked about taxes. We've talked about schools. We've talked about public safety. All of those things need to be done at the same time. Now, folks have mentioned investors, and I appreciate that. The concept is cute. How many here are going to invest their hard-earned savings and maybe their IRAs in a city or a state that is 49th in all of the measurable metrics? Anybody? Okay. So if we want to attract investment, we have to get our house in order first with some bold legislative agendas that move the needle in a clear, not babble, politic first way. Gotta put people first.
Mr. Burkendine.
Yeah, put the people first, that's for sure. So here we are, we want to keep people in the state. We have to compete with South Carolina and Florida. A lot of the people, senior citizens, are leaving the state because there's no incentive to stay here. We tax the heck out of them, we give them property tax, we charge them a great amount of money in property tax. I have friends that moved to South Carolina. They pay their property tax at the end of the year, they get it back. They pay their health care, Medicare, they get that back at the end of the year. And here in Maryland, what do we do for senior citizens? Virtually nothing. These people work their whole entire lives, they work hard, they're the ones that built this state, and now we got the young kids, we're going to take it all away from them by the senior citizens leaving. We need the senior citizens here, and we need to keep them here. And then the people that's working here, we got to keep them here by giving them better jobs, better paying jobs. These jobs in the stadiums and the waterfronts and all this it's not a living wage. We got to provide living wages. We got to bring industry back to the state, and we got to bring a base back. We got to have a good foundation. We've lost the foundation. Moore has taken that away from us. They wanted to destroy the state. They're bringing all this stuff in from California. They want us to be a sanctuary city. They want us to. They're trying to manipulate us. We got to change it, and we got to bring back work ethics to the state of Maryland by bringing back industry. So that's what we have to do.
Mr. Larkin.
All right, well, this is a good question, and Chris, I see a lot of posts on your site, and people sadly are leaving the state. And believe it or not, South Carolina is a big destination because it's a red state. The reason they're leaving is affordability, right? They cannot afford to stay here any longer. They've been taxed beyond measure, and they can't live here on their retirements and other incomes. But people don't know what's driving the high cost of housing here in this state. No candidate here, Westmore, nobody's paying attention. What's going on here is that a lot of the inner city homes, like in Frederick, Maryland, for example, and other historic sites over on the Eastern Shore, all those houses are being bought up by investors outside the state so they can push it as Airbnb. Not only are they buying up all the inventory in the cities, they're doing it in the counties as well. And so what we're going to do, if I'm governor, is I'm going to tax them in terms of put a real estate tax on top of them 4 to 5 times the rate of the regular real estate tax because they're a corporate business outside the state. Furthermore, I'm going to put a hotelier tax on them 100%. Whatever they're charging for somebody to stay there, make it cost prohibitive. So affordability is the reason, and I want to get people back in here, and the only way we're going to do that is to make the state affordable.
Mr. Myrick.
Chris, thank you for the question. People are leaving the state of Maryland for every reason we've talked about tonight. Everything from the bad education system to no economic opportunity to public safety. We need to turn it all around, and Shannon's right, we need to turn it all around simultaneously. And we can do that. From an economic standpoint for our seniors, we hear it all across the state every time we go out that it's too expensive to live here in Maryland. Of course it is. We will propose legislation. I've already talked with the Democrat leadership down in Annapolis about this, and they seem to think that this is not a bad idea. We will introduce legislation to make all retirement income in the state of Maryland, Maryland state income tax exempt. We will also introduce legislation to make your primary residence state property tax exempt for any homeowner over the age of 65. Because Marylanders should never be penalized for living long enough to retire here in Maryland. We need to fix this. We will attract people here to Maryland if we lower the cost of living here, if we bring economic opportunity back here, if we fix our school systems and we make our streets safe. People will want to come back here. People will stay here. Thank you.
Mr. Rhodes.
What was that number you stated about out-migration?
120,435.
You want to address in-migration?
How many people are coming in?
Do you know that number?
No.
Good. According to my study, 140,000 moved in, but they were takers, not makers, that left. That's a big problem. So, let's get the makers back in. The only way to do it, lower the taxes, lower the fees, give them incentives, and the only way you're going to get that done is get rid of 188 Democratic legislators. Come on now. Get angry. Since November, I've been talking, we have a little program called RID, which is Republican, Independent, and Democrats. With me, I don't care what party you're in. Come and be on my side, and we'll change things so that everybody is equal. Districts will be equal. We'll redistrict to make everything equal. None of this pterodactyl Martin O'Malley crap that's going on. Or like in Virginia. And I made a comment on Facebook about Virginia. Within an hour, I had 300 people say, yeah, that's just, well, you know, get rid of her. Yeah.
30-second rebuttals. Mr. Burke?
No, I'm fine, I'm fine.
Mr. Largo?
There you go.
Yeah, quickly, one other initiative I would push is for passing legislation to be able to make apartments reclassified as condominiums. So these young people and others can apply for first-time homeowners loans for the condominiums, which would be their apartment. So they are actually owning the unit and then paying into their association.
Mr. Myrick?
By using fiscal restraint and by actually budgeting like you and I budget every month at a state level, where you're not spending more money than you're bringing in, we can make Maryland more affordable. We will be able to reduce taxes, we will be able to reduce fees, and we will be able to bring businesses back to Maryland and improve the quality of life for every Marylander. By doing that, Marylanders will want to stay here, and people will want to come here, because Maryland is the absolute most wonderful state in the union.
Mr. Oakes, would you like to have 30 seconds rebuttal?
No, I'm good.
That does conclude our 6 topics. We now
That's not what you think
move on to
it was.
closing statements, I believe.
We are indeed, and I am going to let Ms. Wright go first with a closing statement, okay? You have 2 minutes.
Okay, folks, we've all heard a lot tonight and given you all a lot to think about. But I will end with what I started with. In this primary, you all need to give some serious consideration to whom you think not can win the primary, but can win the general, because that's where the fight is. Now, I can't speak for any of my opponents, but I've had the opportunity to take on Westmore in a debate stage, hosted by former White House correspondent April Ryan. And if you want to feel the heat and the fire, boy, was that hot. I've also had the opportunity to deal with one-on-one with Joy Reid, formerly of MSNBC. Now, I say that because one of the questions that was asked here was, in order to win, you had to get more than Republicans, so how do you intend to do it? I'm going to go where the other voters are. I'm going to go back on MSNBC. I'm going to go back and talk to April Ryan again. I'm going to go back and talk to Roland Martin again, all of whose shows I've been on. Because when you put people first and you try to give them the resources and the tools, they listen. If you go to people with the kitchen table issues that unite us as opposed to those things that divide us, they listen. In the mayoral race, and someone asked me here tonight, if I didn't win the mayor race in Baltimore, how can I run statewide? Well, here's the reason why. Hogan did it. Ehrlich did it. It's been done, and there's a way to do it. Now, don't get mad at me, but my first book that I wrote was called White Folks' Guide to Understanding the Black Community and Get Out the Vote. I wrote it in 2012. I wrote it because people asked me about Obama and how he got folks to vote and how do you get folks to vote. Now, if you want to win in November, you need somebody that knows how to find where the votes are and bring it home.
Why don't we just go in reverse order, right down
Okay.
the line, okay? So Mr. Oakes, you're next with your closing statement. Let me
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't have solutions for everything, and nobody up here has solutions for everything. We have ideas. What's important is if you have a group of people to work with you to formulate ideas into policy. That's the most important part. If you make policy and you have a legislature that wants to beat against your head all the time, your policies aren't going to do any good. Your ideas aren't going to do any good. You're just going to have auto pen. We don't need that. We need constructive legislature that has one thing in mind, and that's make Maryland the place where pleasant living is. It's a real simple thing. I don't understand why 188 people can't get their act together and agree on what's good for the state. So if you don't want what's good for Maryland, get out of the race. If you're just here to collect donations to do, what do they call it? Political ambitions, get out of the race. If you got 61 counts against you from the Maryland Judiciary Courts, get out of the race. If you've lost 5 out of 6 races that you've run, including one that you lost to Smiley, 64 to 32%, why would you try again? Come on, people, get mad. Let's go get somebody.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention this evening. The bottom line here is, my running mate, Dr. Brenda Chan, and I have very real solutions to these very real problems facing Marylanders. And it's not hard. It just takes 2 things. A governor who cares enough to do it, and one who's not concerned about political fallout because he's looking for another job up the food chain, like this governor and the last 2 were. I was raised in a blue-collar household, and I was taught one thing that I remember to this day, and that is we run towards a fight, not away from it. Maryland is worth saving. This state deserves better. You deserve better. And we are the team that can absolutely take it to our current governor and lieutenant governor in November. We appeal, our message appeals to independents, to Democrats, and to Republicans alike, because you all want the same thing. Better schools, safer streets, economic opportunity, and a government that gets out of your way. Politicians talk about problems, public servants solve them. My running mate and I are public servants. We have been our entire lives. And one thing is different between a politician and a public servant, and that is public servants remember who they work for. We will work for you. Not for corporate interest, not for self-aggrandizement, not to put money in our own pockets, but because it's the right thing to do working for the people of Maryland. You deserve better. And we're going to give that to you come November with your help. I ask for your vote, I ask for your confidence, and I ask for you to believe in Maryland. Thank you.
All right, everyone. There was a recent study, 2026, and I don't know if you read it, but Maryland is the 2nd happiest state in the Union, the 50 states. Apparently, that survey was not taken in Maryland. I believe California was number 1. So it's my job here tonight, like I said, to introduce myself and hopefully that you will all like me. And so it's hard to do when you're trying to kick out data in your own time frame. And then you have to manage things and look at the logistics of it. But I can tell you this, I think outside the box. I don't think like everybody else and have this standard thing where we just kind of drag it through the muck. I know how to fix things and move things, and I know how to deal with people. And I know I can work with Bill Ferguson and Jocelyn Pena Melnick and talk some common sense to them with that what? That voter, public consensus voting system, right? So you can all weigh in, you can all push your democratic opinions. So that I have a piece of paper with fact from the Board of Elections in my hand, so when I walk into that General Assembly and I say to them, what you're doing is wrong. What you're doing is wrong, and this is what the public would like to do. And then it's on them, right? Then it's on them whether or not they'll be reelected or not. Because I'll just go on TV and say, oh, I wouldn't really reelect that person. They're not doing anything in your favor. So hopefully everybody has a safe trip home tonight, and hopefully everybody's happy, allegedly, right? So, and we'll have better days ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you, Mr. Oates. You made this fun tonight. I'll tell you, I've been so nervous coming up to this thing, but I have to reach out to some of my friends.
I like to make people laugh, but I don't like being laughed at.
But I have to reach out to some of my friends leading into this. I want to reach out to Mr. Fletcher down on Eastern Shore. He's a veteran. He was in Vietnam in '68, and I talked to him a couple weeks ago. And he said most of his buddies are all passed away from Agent Orange. I want to say, if this is recorded, I'd like to reach out to Mr. Fletcher. And his wife was a school teacher, 40 years, down on Lower Eastern Shore. A Maryland man, a true Maryland man. I want to reach out to another Maryland man, Bill Mullinex. He's a small contractor in Ocean City. He's worried about his business. He's worried about what's going on. He's backing me. He wants me to get involved. He wants me to do whatever I can do and have a voice. And then I have a guy, Bill Mullinex. He's a good family man. He's got a small business. And then I want to reach out to Joe Eberhardt. He was a veteran over a Marine in Desert Storm. A lot of his friends have different sicknesses from being in the fire pits over there. People don't like to talk about that. But these guys are Maryland men. I'm a Maryland man. We got to fight for Maryland. We got to take care of everybody here. We all got to work together. We got to pull together. So if you don't vote for me, I'd like you to vote for me. I want to make a change here in Maryland. I think I can make a change. I'll fight for everybody here. We're going to work hard to get the kids where they need to get. We got to bring industry back, and we got to work together. And if you vote for me, I'll work hard for you, and we can make it a reality and make people proud again to be a Marylander. And that's what I'd like to bring to the table here. So thank you. God bless everybody in here, and God bless Maryland. Thank you.
This evening, but first and foremost, I want to acknowledge Ellen Sauerbrey and Chris Paps for being here. Sophia, we owe you. We owe you.
Put it on the card.
So I've been up here taking notes, and I probably didn't do such a good job. So if I forgot anyone, my apologies, but we do have some dignitaries in the room. So I just want to acknowledge we have Senator Johnny Sallings in the room. We have Delegate Rick Metzger in the room. We have Delegate Bob Long in the room. We have former Delegate Pat McDonough in the room, I think. And this is where you have to forgive me. I want to acknowledge all of the local candidates that are in the room. I did my best. Dave Wallace. Nino Mangione. Kevin Ford. Pat Shire. Chuck Murphy. Jeff McDonald, Dan Katz, Alex Harlan, Sonia Dunn, Jackie Stevenson, Adam Wood. I see my friend Kim Stansberry just walked in the room. Nicole Schroeder, Ford, he's going to run for Central Committee again. Our friend over here is running for,
Baltimore City, Central Committee.
okay. Last but not least, James McNeil, who is solely responsible for the fact that this debate took place in Baltimore County, so. Excuse me? Daniel? No, you're not interrupting. I did, because you didn't get in touch with me prior to this debate. So, that's Daniel, guys. He's running for Senate. This is important because there was a meeting recently, and there were several people in the room who did not realize that they could not vote in the primary if they were not registered Republicans. They wanted to support a certain candidate, they're friendly with him, but for some reason they did not realize that they are unable to vote in the primary. So we have some voter registration over here. There's some little QR codes. You can actually scan this code and find out what party you're registered in, but that's really important. Everybody in this room, if you want to vote for one of these people, you have to be a registered Republican for the primary. I think it is time to announce the winner of the One Love Foundation raffle basket. So Donna is going to come on up.
You have a gambling license?
Okay, folks.
You're gonna get taxed on it.
The winner of this amazing basket is number 34. 34?